The slap stung more than I expected. A sharp crack that echoed through the kitchen and burned my cheek red. I stood frozen, my hands trembling at my sides, as Mom's eyes blazed with a fury I hadn't seen since I was a kid. "You think you're too good to help your family," she spat, her voice low and venomous, the kind that cut deeper than her hand ever could. I was 30, still living in the house I grew up in. Not because I wanted to, but because life had a way of chaining you to places you meant to leave. The kitchen smelled of garlic and regret. The same chipped counters I'd leaned against as a teenager, now bearing the weight of another family fight. My sister, Lily, sat at the table, scrolling through her phone, her perfectly manicured nails tapping the screen. She hadn't lifted a finger to help with dinner, as usual, but somehow, I was the one Mom's wrath landed on. "Emma, you're the oldest," Mom continued, her voice rising. "You have responsibilities. You can't just sit around and expect everything to be handed to you." The irony was so thick I could have choked on it. Lily, 2 years younger, hadn't cooked a meal in years, hadn't paid a bill, hadn't done anything but breeze through life on charm and excuses. Yet here I was, the one who paid half the mortgage, the one who kept the fridge stocked, getting slapped for saying I was too tired to cook after a 12-hour shift. I touched my cheek, the heat of the slap still pulsing under my skin. "I'm not your maid, Mom," I said, my voice shaking but steady enough to carry the weight of years of resentment. "I work. I pay for this house. Why is it always me?" Mom's face twisted, her mouth opening to fire back. But I didn't wait for her words. I turned, grabbed my keys from the counter, and walked toward the door. Lily finally looked up, her smirk fading just enough to show she knew something was shifting. "Emma, don't be dramatic," she called, her tone dripping with the confidence of someone who always got away with everything. "Dramatic?" I stopped, my hand on the doorknob, and turned to face her. "You sit there doing nothing while I'm killing myself to keep this family afloat. And you," I pointed at Mom, my voice cracking with the weight of betrayal. "You let her. You always have." The silence that followed was heavier than the slap. Mom's eyes widened, but she didn't speak. Lily's phone clattered onto the table, her usual nonchalance replaced by something uneasy. I didn't wait for either of them to respond. I walked out, the door slamming behind me, the sound final, like a book snapping shut. Outside, the evening air was cool against my burning cheek. I slid into my car, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I didn't know where I was going, only that I couldn't stay. Not anymore. For years, I'd been the glue holding our fractured family together, the one who paid the bills when Dad left, the one who cooked and cleaned and swallowed my pride. But that slop hit was the breaking point. The moment I realized I was done being their doormat. I drove aimlessly, the city lights blurring through the tears I refused to let fall. My phone buzzed relentlessly in the passenger seat. Mom. Probably. Or maybe Lily, ready to guilt me into coming back. I ignored it. For the first time in years, I felt something like freedom, sharp and terrifying, cutting through the fog of obligation that had defined my life. I thought about the house, the one I'd helped pay for since I was 22, fresh out of college and naive enough to think I could fix everything. Dad had walked out when I was 18, leaving Mom with a mortgage and 2 daughters who couldn't stand each other. Lily had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, while I was the responsible one, the one who picked up the pieces. I'd taken a job as a nurse, long hours and longer nights, because someone had to keep the lights on. Lily, meanwhile, floated through life, picking up modeling gigs and boyfriends, contributing nothing but complaints. The memory of that slap burned brighter than the streetlights. It wasn't just the pine, it was the injustice of it. The way Mom's hand had chosen me, not Lily, as if my exhaustion, my sacrifices, meant nothing. I pulled into a diner parking lot, the neon sign flickering like my resolve. I needed to think, to figure out what came next. I couldn't go back. Not like this. But where did that leave me? Inside the diner. The smell of coffee and fried eggs grounded me. I slid into a booth, ordered a black coffee, and stared at the menu without reading it. My phone buzzed again, and this time, I glanced at it. A text from Mom. Come home. Emma. We need to talk. I laughed, a bitter sound that made the waitress glance over. Talk. That's all we ever did, talk. Fight. Apologize. Repeat. Nothing changed. Lily never changed. Mom never changed. And two couldn't keep doing this. I opened my banking app, my heart pounding as I checked the joint account I shared with Mom for the house. My paychecks went straight there, covering the mortgage, utilities, everything. Lily's name wasn't on it. Of course, never contributed a dime. I stared at the balance. The number's a stark reminder of how much I'd given up. My savings were gone, funneled into that house, into a family that didn't value me. My finger hovered over the screen. One tap, and I could transfer what was left to my personal account. One tap, and I could stop being their safety net. The thought was dizzying, reckless, but it felt right. I deserved more than this, more than a life spent cleaning up other people's messes. I took a deep breath and tapped the screen. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed softly, a steady hum that matched the chaos in my head. My coffee sat untouched, steam curling into the air as I stared at my phone, the confirmation of the transfer glowing on the screen. I'd moved every cent from the joint account to my own $247.19. The scraps of my life's work after years of pouring everything into that house. It wasn't much, but it was mine. And for the first time, I wasn't sharing it. My phone buzzed again, Mom's name flashing. I let it go to voicemail, imagining her pacing the kitchen, her anger morphing into panic. She'd figure out soon enough that the account was empty. Lily would probably throw a fit, blaming me, as always. But I didn't care. Not tonight. I sipped the coffee, bitter and too hot, and let my mind wander to the years I'd lost. I'd given up dreams of moving to the city, of traveling, of building a life that wasn't tethered to Mom's expectations or Lily's laziness. I'd stayed because I thought it was my duty, because Mom had drilled into me that family came first, no matter the cost. But what kind of family slaps you for being too tired to cook? The waitress, a woman with kind eyes and a tired smile, refilled my cup. Rough night? She asked, her voice gentle enough to slip past my defenses. You could say that, I replied, managing a small smile. Ever feel like you're carrying everyone else's weight? She chuckled, wiping her hands on her apron. Every damn day. Hon. But sometimes, you gotta put yourself first. Ain't nobody else gonna do it for you. Her words hit like a second slap. But this one woke me up. I'd spent years putting everyone else first, Mom. Lily. Even the ghost of Dad's absence. I'd been so busy keeping the family together that I'd forgotten who I was outside of it. The waitress's name tag read Clara, and I made a mental note to tip her well. She didn't know it, but she'd just given me permission to keep going. I left the diner an hour later, my resolve hardening with every step. I drove to a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind with flickering signs and questionable bedding. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine for the night, paid for with my own money. As I lay on the stiff mattress, staring at the water-stained ceiling, I felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. I'd walked out. I'd stopped paying. Now what? The next morning, my phone was a battlefield of missed calls and texts. Mom's voicemails ranged from angry to pleading. Lily's texts a mix of insults and fake concern. Where are you? You're so selfish. Mom's freaking out. Emma, come on. I deleted them all. My heart pounding, but my hands steady. I wasn't going back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I spent the day driving. No destination in mind. Just needing the open road to clear my head. By noon, I'd ended up at a park I used to visit as a kid. A place where Dad would push me on the swings before everything fell apart. I sat on a bench, watching families laugh and play, and let myself feel the weight of what I'd done. I'd cut the cord, but it wasn't clean. There'd be consequences, bills unpaid, Mom's anger, Lily's tantrums. But for the first time, I wasn't the one who'd have to fix it. My phone rang again, and this time, I answered. Emma, where the hell are you? Mom's voice was sharp, but there was an edge of desperation I hadn't heard before. I'm done, Mom, I said, my voice calm despite the storm inside. I'm done paying for everything, doing everything, while you and Lily act like I owe you. You can't just abandon us, she shouted. This is your family. Family doesn't slap you for being tired, I shot back. Family doesn't let one person do nothing while the other carries the load. I'm not your bank account, Mom. Figure it out. I hung up before she could respond, my heart racing. I'd never spoken to her like that, never drawn a line so firmly. It felt like betrayal, but also like liberation. I wasn't just walking away from the house, it was walking away from the version of myself I'd let them create. By evening, I'd found a small apartment listing online, a studio in the city. Nothing fancy but affordable on my nurse's salary. I called the landlord, my voice steady as I set up a viewing for the next day. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. For years, I'd been defined by what I did for others. Now, I was choosing myself. As night fell, I sat in my motel room, eating takeout and scrolling through job listings. I wasn't just looking for a new place to live, I was looking for a new life. One where I wasn't the family scapegoat, where my worth wasn't measured by how much I could give. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, it was mine to walk. The studio apartment smelled of fresh paint and possibility. A tiny space with a single window overlooking a bustling city street. It was nothing like the house I'd grown up in, creaky stairs. No faded wallpaper. No echoes of arguments lingering in the air. As I signed the lease, my hand shook, not from fear, but from the weight of starting over. The landlord, a gruff man named Tony, handed me the keys with a nod. You look like someone who's ready for a change, he said, his eyes crinkling with a knowing smile. I didn't tell him how right he was. I just thanked him and walked into my new home, the door clicking shut behind me like a promise. Moving out was easier than I'd expected. I didn't have much, just a few boxes of clothes, books, and keepsakes I'd tucked away over the years. Most of my life had been poured into that house, into Mom and Lily, leaving little for myself. But as I unpacked, arranging my things in a space that was mine alone, I felt a spark of something I hadn't felt in years, hope. My phone stayed quiet for most of the day, a relief after the barrage of calls and texts. But by evening, Mom's name lit up the screen again. I let it ring, my finger hovering over the decline button. But something stopped me. Maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was curiosity. Either way, I answered. Emma, this isn't funny anymore, Mom said, her voice tight with strain. The mortgage payment is due, and the account's empty. What did you do? I took my money, I said simply. I've been paying for that house for years. Mom, I'm done. You can't do this to us, she cried, her voice cracking. Lily's trying. You know she is. We're family. Emma, you don't just walk away. I laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. Lily's trying. She's never paid a bill in her life. And you've let her get away with it while I've been killing myself. I'm not walking away from family, Mom. I'm walking away from being used. There was a long silence, broken only by her shaky breathing. Emma, please, she whispered. Come home. We'll figure this out. No, I said, and the word felt final, like a door slamming shut. I have my own place now. You and Lily need to figure out how to stand on your own. I hung up, my chest tight, but my resolve unbroken. For years, I'd let guilt pull me back. Let Mom's tears and Lily's manipulations keep me tethered. But not anymore. I'd drawn a line, and I wasn't crossing it. The next few days were a blur of settling in. I bought a cheap couch from a thrift store, hung a few photos on the walls, and started picking up extra shifts at the hospital to cover the rent. Work was my anchor, the one place where I felt competent, valued. My coworkers noticed the change in Mila's tense. More present. "You seem lighter," one of them said, and I realized she was right. I was carrying less weight, not just financially, but emotionally. But the past wasn't done with me yet. A week after moving out, I got a text from Lily. No apologies. No pleasantries. Just, "You really screwed us over. Emma. Mom's a mess. Happy now." I stared at the words, waiting for the guilt to hit. But it didn't. Instead, I felt anger clean, sharp, and justified. Lily had spent years skating by, letting me carry the load. And now she had the nerve to blame me. I typed back, "Maybe if you'd helped out once in a while, we wouldn't be here. Grow up, Lily." I hit send and blocked her number, my hands shaking with the thrill of cutting her off. It wasn't just about the money or the slop, it was about reclaiming my life, piece by piece. That night, I sat on my new couch, a glass of wine in hand, and let myself imagine a future that wasn't defined by Mom or Lily. Maybe I'd take that trip to Europe I'd always dreamed of. Maybe I'd go back to school, pursue something beyond nursing. The possibilities felt endless, but they also felt fragile, like they could slip away if I wasn't careful. The next morning, I woke to a knock at my door. My heart sank. Part of me expected Mom, ready to guilt me into coming back. But when I opened the door, it was Clara, the waitress from the diner, holding a small potted plant. "Heard you got a new place," she said with a grin. "Thought you could use some green." I stared at her, stunned. "How did you?" "Small town," she said, shrugging. "Word gets around. You okay?" I nodded, my throat tight. "Getting there." She handed me the plant, her eyes warm. "You will. Just keep putting yourself first." As she left, I set the plant on my windowsill, its leaves catching the morning light. It was a small thing, but it felt like a symbol of everything I was building, a life where I wasn't just surviving, but living. The plant on my windowsill was thriving, its leaves greener with each passing day, a quiet reminder that I could nurture something without losing myself. My apartment was starting to feel like home. Each small additional lamp, a rug, a stack of books marking my reclaiming of space and identity. But the weight of my family lingered, a shadow I couldn't fully shake. Work kept me grounded. The hospital was chaos, as always, but there was comfort in the routine, checking charts, soothing patients, losing myself in the rhythm of saving lives. My coworkers had become a kind of surrogate family, their support a lifeline I hadn't realized I needed. During a quiet moment in the break room, I told my friend Sarah about the slap, the fight, the move. Her eyes widened, but she didn't judge. "You did the right thing," she said, squeezing my hand. "You can't set yourself on fire to keep them warm." Her words stuck with me, echoing Clara's advice from the diner. I wasn't just walking away from Mom and Lily, I was choosing to save myself. But choosing myself didn't mean the guilt was gone. It crept in at night, when the apartment was too quiet, whispering that I'd abandoned them, that I was selfish. I pushed it down, but it was there, waiting. 2 weeks after moving out, I got an email from the bank. The mortgage payment had bounced, as expected, and the house was at risk of foreclosure if it wasn't paid soon. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let Mom and Lily face the consequences. But another part, the part that still remembered Mom's laughter before Dad left, the part that loved her despite everything, faltered. I didn't want to save them, but I didn't want them to lose everything either. I called Mom, my heart heavy. "Emma," she answered, her voice weary. "Are you ready to come home?" "I'm not coming back," I said, steady but firm. But I got the bank's email. What's going on? She sighed, a sound that carried years of exhaustion. We can't pay the mortgage without you. Lily's trying to find work. But it's not enough. Emma, we need you. There it was again, the pull of obligation. The expectation that I'd fix it. Mom, I can't keep doing this. I said, I've given everything. Lily needs to step up. Or you need to figure out another way. She's trying, Mom said, but her voice lacked conviction. She's not like you, Emma. She's delicate. I laughed, the sound harsh. Delicate. She's 28. Mom. She's not a child. Stop making excuses for her. The silence on the other end was deafening. I could picture Mom in the kitchen, her hands twisting a dish towel, her face torn between anger and fear. What do you want me to do? She asked finally. Sell the house, I said, the words spilling out before I could stop them. Downsize. Get a job. Something. But I'm not your solution anymore. I hung up, my hands shaking. Sell the house. It was a radical thought, one I hadn't dared voice before. That house held every memory of my childhood. Good and bad Dad's laughter, Mom's tears, Lily's tantrums. But it was also a chain, tying us all to a past we couldn't escape. Maybe letting it go was the only way forward. The next day, I met Clara for coffee at the diner. She'd become an unexpected friend. Her no-nonsense warmth a balm to my frayed nerves. I told her about the call, the mortgage, the idea of selling the house. She listened, her eyes steady, and when I finished, she leaned back. You're doing the hard thing, she said. Most people wouldn't. They'd go back, keep carrying the load. But you're breaking the cycle. Feels more like breaking my heart, I admitted, stirring my coffee. That's part of it, she said. Growth hurts. But you're not just saving yourself, Emma. You're forcing them to grow too. Her words stayed with me as I drove home, the city lights blurring into streaks of gold and red. I thought about Mom, about the house, about Lily's infuriating smirk. Clara was right, I wasn't just saving myself. I was setting a boundary, one they'd never had to face before. It was painful, but it was necessary. That night, I dreamed of the house, but it wasn't the one I'd grown up in. It was empty, the walls bare, the rooms echoing with silence. I walked through it, my footsteps loud, and when I reached the kitchen, Mom and Lily were there. But they weren't fighting. They were packing, their faces calm, their hands busy. It wasn't real, but it felt like a Cigna future where we could all move on. When I woke, my phone was blinking with a new message. Not from Mom or Lily, but from Sarah, inviting me to a weekend getaway with some of the nurses. You deserve a break, she wrote. Come have fun for once. I smiled, the weight in my chest lifting just a little. Maybe I did deserve it. Maybe this was what choosing myself looked like. The weekend getaway was a revelation. 2 days at a lake cabin with Sarah and the other nurses, filled with laughter, bonfires, and the kind of freedom I hadn't felt since I was a kid. I swam in the cold water, my skin prickling, my heart light. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about bills or fights or what I owed anyone. I was just Emma, not the family's savior or scapegoat. Back in the city, my apartment felt more like home than ever. I'd added a few more to chase a colorful throw blanket, a shelf for my books, and each one felt like a declaration of independence. But the peace was fragile, and I knew it wouldn't last. The house, Mom, Lily, they were still out there, waiting to pull me back. A week after the getaway, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me pick up. Emma, it's Lily, my sister's voice said, softer than I'd ever heard it. Don't hang up, please. I gripped the phone, my jaw tight. What do you want? I got a job, she said, the words tumbling out awkwardly. It's just retail. Nothing fancy. But I'm trying. Mom's looking for work too. I know you don't believe me, but things are different now. I didn't know what to say. Lily. Working. It sounded like a lie, but her voice lacked its usual bravado. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you were right, she said, and I could hear her swallow hard. I've been a leech. I didn't see it until you left. Mom's freaking out. The house is a mess. And I don't know how to fix it. But I'm trying. I sat down, my legs unsteady. Lily, admitting she was wrong. It was like the sun rising in the west. Okay, I said cautiously. That's a start. But I'm not coming back. Lily, I can't. I know, she said, her voice breaking. I just wanted you to know we're not sitting around waiting for you to save us anymore. I hung up, my mind reeling. Was she telling the truth? Or was this another manipulation? A way to pull me back into their chaos? I wanted to believe her, but years of resentment made it hard. Lily had always been the master of getting what she wanted without lifting a finger. A job didn't erase that. I called Clara, needing her clarity. She listened as I recounted the call, her silence thoughtful. Sounds like she's scared, she said finally. You leaving shook them up. That's good. But don't let them pull you back in until they prove they've changed. She was right. I couldn't trust Lily's words, not yet. But the call stayed with me, a crack in the wall I'd built between us. I didn't want to hope, but a small part of me did. Maybe they could change. Maybe I hadn't walked away for nothing. The next day, I got an email from Mom. No demands. No guilt trips. Just a short note. We're putting the house on the market. It's hard. But you were right, it's time. I'm sorry, Emma. I read it over and over, searching for the catch. But there wasn't one. Just an apology, raw and unadorned. I didn't reply right away. I needed time to process, to let the weight of her words settle. Selling the house was a step I hadn't expected, a sign that maybe they were listening. But apologies didn't erase the slap, the years of unfairness, the way they'd let me carry everything alone. I threw myself into work, picking up extra shifts to keep my mind busy. The hospital was a refuge, a place where I was needed but not used. My patients didn't care about my family drama, they just needed me to be there, to listen, to help. And I was good at it. For the first time, I let myself take pride in that, in the life I was building outside of Mom and Lily. One night, after a long shift, I stopped by the diner. Clara was there, as always, her smile a beacon in the fluorescent light. You look like you're carrying the world again, she said, sliding a coffee across the counter. Not the world, I said, managing a smile. Just my family. She nodded, her eyes kind but sharp. They're reaching out because they're scared. Emma, that's progress. But you don't owe them anything until they show you they've changed, not just with words, but with actions. I sipped the coffee, letting her words sink in. She was right. As usual, I'd spent so long being the one who fixed everything that I'd forgotten how to let others take responsibility. If Mom and Lily were serious, they'd have to prove it, and I'd have to learn to let them. As I left the diner, the city felt alive around me, full of possibility. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was building something new, something mine. And for the first time, I believed I could keep it. The city was waking up as I walked home from the diner, the streets buzzing with early morning energy. My apartment greeted me with its quiet warmth, the plant on the windowsill a small testament to my new life. But Mom's email and Lily's call lingered, tugging at the edges of my resolve. I wanted to believe they were changing, but trust was a fragile thing, and mine had been broken too many times. I didn't respond to Mom's email right away. Instead, I focused on my routine work. Errands. Small moments of joy like reading on my couch or cooking for myself. I was learning to enjoy my own company, to fill the silence with things that made me happy. But the past kept knocking. A week after Mom's email, I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, her familiar scrawl on the envelope. I sat on my couch, the letter unopened in my hands, my heart pounding. Part of me wanted to tear it up, to keep the distance I'd fought so hard for. But another part, the part that still loved her, despite everything, needed to know what she'd written. I opened it, my fingers trembling. Dear Emma, I don't know if you'll read this, but I have to try. I've been a terrible mother to you. I leaned on you too much. Let Lily lean on you too. And I didn't see how much it hurt you. That slap, I can't take it back. But I'm so sorry. I was scared, angry, lost. That's no excuse. We're selling the house. Like you said, Lily's working now, and I've got a part-time job at the library. It's not much, but it's a start. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope you'll give us a chance to make things right. I love you, Emma. I always have. Mom. I read it 3 times, tears blurring the words. It was everything I'd wanted to hear for years, but it didn't erase the pain. An apology couldn't undo the slap, the years of unfairness, the way she'd let Lily skate by while I carried the load. But it was a step, a real one, and that meant something. I didn't call her back. Instead, I wrote a short email. I got your letter. I'm glad you're trying. I need time, but I'm not closing the door. Take care. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, but it was honest. And for now, that was enough. Life moved forward. I settled into my apartment, my job, my new rhythm. Sarah and the other nurses became my chosen family. Their laughter and support a reminder that I wasn't alone. I started taking evening classes, something I'd always wanted to do, a literature course at the community college, diving into books I'd never had time for. It felt like rediscovering a part of myself I'd buried under family obligations. One evening, as I was leaving class, I saw Lily across the street, standing outside a coffee shop. She looked different, less polished, more real, her hair in a messy bun, her face free of makeup. She saw me too and hesitated before crossing the street. Emma, she said, her voice uncertain. Can we talk? I nodded, wary but curious. We sat in the coffee shop, the hum of conversation around us a buffer against the tension. I meant what I said. She started, her hands wrapped around a mug. I'm working. It's hard, but I'm doing it. I didn't realize how much you were carrying until you left. I studied her, searching for the catch, but her eyes were earnest, almost vulnerable. Why now? I asked. Why change now? She looked down, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. Because you were right. I was selfish. I let you and Mom do everything, and I didn't see how wrong it was until you were gone. I'm not asking you to fix things, Emma. I just want you to know I'm trying. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to lash out, to list every time she'd let me down. But another part saw something new in her crack in the armor of her entitlement. Okay, I said finally. Keep trying. Show me. Don't just tell me. She nodded, her eyes bright with unshed tears. I will. We didn't hug, didn't make promises. But as I walked home, I felt a shift, like a knot loosening in my chest. Lily wasn't fixed, and neither was Mom. But they were trying. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start rebuilding something. Back in my apartment, I looked at the plant on my windowsill, its leaves stretching toward the light. It was thriving, and so was I. The road ahead was long, but I was ready to walk it on my terms. For myself. The seasons changed, and so did I. Fall painted the city in golds and reds, and my apartment became a sanctuary, filled with small joys, a new bookshelf, a cozy blanket, the scent of coffee in the morning. I was learning to live for myself, to let go of the guilt that had tethered me to Mom and Lily for so long. But letting go didn't mean forgetting, and their efforts to change kept pulling me back, testing my resolve. A month after my coffee shop talk with Lily, Mom invited me to dinner. Not at the old house, I was under contract now. set to be sold by winter but at a small apartment she and Lily had rented. I hesitated, the memory of the slap still sharp. But I agreed. I wanted to see if their words matched their actions, if they were really trying to build something new. The apartment was modest, a far cry from the sprawling house we'd grown up in. Mom greeted me at the door, her smile tentative but warm. Lily was there too, setting the table, her movements careful, like she was afraid of breaking something. The air was thick with unspoken history, but I didn't feel the old suffocation. This was different. Dinner was simple spaghetti, salad, store-bought garlic bread, but it felt like a peace offering. Mom talked about her job at the library, her voice bright with a pride I hadn't heard in years. Lily mentioned her retail job, the long hours, the lessons in humility. It's not glamorous, she said, glancing at me. But it's mine. I nodded, my guard still up, but softening. They were trying, and it showed. The apartment was clean. The bills were paid. And for the first time, I wasn't the one holding it all together. We talked, really talked, about the past, the mistakes, the pain. Mom's eyes filled with tears when she brought up the slap. I'll never forgive myself for that, she said, her voice breaking. I was wrong, Emma. I see that now. I didn't say I forgave her, not yet. But I listened, and that was a start. Lily, too, opened up, admitting how she'd taken me for granted, how my leaving had forced her to grow up. I didn't get it before, she said. I do now. We didn't fix everything that night. There were no grand reconciliations, no tearful hugs. But there was honesty, and that was more than we'd had in years. As I left, Mom pressed a small photo frame into my hands, a picture of us from when I was 10, all smiles, before Dad left. Keep this, she said. It's a reminder of the good times. We'll make more. I promise. I took the frame, my throat tight. We'll see, I said, but I meant it. I wasn't ready to dive back into their lives, but I wasn't closing the door either. Back in my apartment, I set the frame on my shelf, next to the plant Clara had given me. It felt like a bridge between my past and my present, a reminder that I could hold on to the good without being trapped by the bad. I was building a life I loved. One shift at the hospital, one class at the college, one coffee with Clara at a time. The hospital became my anchor, but it was also where I started to dream bigger. I applied for a promotion, a supervisory role that would mean more responsibility, but also more freedom to shape my future. Sarah cheered me on, her faith in me a steady light. When I got the job, I celebrated with her and the other nurses, laughing until my sides hurt, feeling like I was finally living for myself. Clara, too, remained a constant. We met for coffee every week, her wisdom grounding me. You're not just surviving anymore, she said one day, her eyes twinkling. You're thriving. She was right. I was thriving not because Mom and Lily had changed, but because I had. I'd learned to set boundaries, to choose myself, to build a life that wasn't defined by what I owed others. The slap, the fights, the years of resentment, they were part of my story, but they weren't the whole of it. As winter approached, I stood in my apartment, looking out at the city lights. The house was sold. Mom and Lily were finding their way, and I was finding mine. We weren't a perfect family, but we were trying, and that was enough. I'd walked out, stopped paying, and in doing so, I'd found myself. The road ahead was still uncertain, but it was mine, and I was ready to walk it, one step at a time.